Welcome to the Encore Audio Archives YouTube channel. I'm Taper Dave, and this is my channel. I've uploaded hundreds of talks here that I've recorded at meetings in West LA, and I've also recorded conventions starting in 2013. I've got a bunch of those up. And Walt and Mary Murray, the original owners of Encore Audio Archives, started the company in the 80s, and Walt recorded Joe and Charlie's and a bunch of stuff down in Vista, California. My sobriety date is June 20th of 1994. I hope you find something you like, so please like and subscribe to my channel and comment down below. If you want to hear something that I don't have or that you don't see, I'll see that I get it. Anyways, take care and have a great day if you want to.
Morning, my name is Johnnie and I'm an alcoholic. Glad to be here this morning. I'm glad to be sober. It's kind of an emotional weekend for me. I was here 27 years ago on a Sunday morning at the old Desert Roundup. My sponsor dropped dead, and it was probably one of the worst days I've ever had in Alcoholics Anonymous. And 1967, I came down to this powwow to talk at the young people's meeting. That's not funny. And I had just buried my children's mother, who committed suicide 6 weeks before that. And it's always been a strong, warm place in my heart, and it's been kind of like a reflection thing here. And the subject matter that I'm talking about this morning, sponsorship and home groups, it's such a part of my fabric, and it's such a part of me that it's just like breathing in and out, because I don't, there's a lot of people talking about a lot of things. A lot of people in my home group on Monday night meeting, they want to start their talk by saying, if I have a sponsor and I have a home group and I have a sobriety date, as long as I got them, I'm in good shape. Well, I've had a sponsor and a home group and a sobriety date since November the 4th, 1959, and a lot of times I'm not in good shape. And if you are one of them kind of spiritual giants where you're in wonderful, wonderful land all the time, there'll be a luncheon for you right after this meeting. I don't judge, I just thought I'd report to you. But my first home group was called a Roadrunners group in Tehachapi State Penitentiary. Now, a lot of people think that the home groups or meetings in penitentiaries are just panels. No, we had a meeting. We had an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting. We were registered in New York. We were registered at the Bakersfield Central Office if they had one. And we sent money, and we bought our own coffee, and we bought our own cakes, and we did all that kind of stuff. And that was my introduction to Alcoholics Anonymous. And not knowing anything about it, or anything that went on, I was introduced to the only authority in Alcoholics Anonymous by the people who came there, particularly a little man by the name of Les Hamlin, who's been dead a long time, who was my mentor once in San Quentin. And he introduced me to a book called Alcoholics Anonymous, and I spent the next 19 months of my life trying to fulfill the conditions that are outlined in a book called Alcoholics Anonymous. And I didn't do it for any particular reason that I wanted to be sober without taking anything of a chemical nature in my system up to this day, or to live any kind of good spiritual life. I did it primarily to prove to you that my case was different, that I was not an alcoholic. Because I knew I was an alcoholic because of what you said, not because of thing anybody else said. Because you were talking about being sober on your trips in to visit me on Sunday. And you're talking to a man who was as physically sober as you were when you were talking to me. And so my reaction to that was, I'm not alcoholic. And so when I was introduced to a book called Alcoholics Anonymous, I could read the book, get into the book Alcoholics Anonymous, and go through all the activities that it says to do in a book of Alcoholics Anonymous to prove to you I was different, that it wouldn't work for me. And somewhere in that book, Alcoholics Anonymous, the actions that I was taking as a result of the actions that are written in the book, something started to happen to me. It wasn't anything spectacular. It was just that I started to have some belief maybe in the people who came on Sundays. And I remember walking out of a man's office, it's been over half a century ago. And I'm reading him my fifth step. And I put things in that fifth step that would have kept me in the penitentiary for the rest of my natural life. Now, don't ask me why I did it, but seemingly our book, Alcoholics Anonymous, says that I have to be rigorously honest about this, holding back. My book says to hold back nothing and to let it all go, because I had some kind of an idea when I got to that point in my sobriety that this may be the only shot that I get in life. Because I knew, according to all the therapists and the psychiatrists and the lawyers and the teachers and the preachers and all the people who'd been analyzing me for 22 years of my life as a ward of the state of California, that I was going to die at an institution or the gas chamber, in a gang fight, or an overdose, or maybe the police were going to blow my brains out and get it over with. So that's what you got when I came to Alcoholics Anonymous. Now, what changed that and gave me a bit of hope, I hear things in Alcoholics Anonymous I really don't understand. Maybe you do, but I don't. I hear people say, I hope you're desperate. How in the hell can you be desperate for something if you don't know what you're missing? That's kind of tough. I was hopeless when I got here. And when I thought I had a glimmer of hope here, I got desperate. Then I got desperate because I could see something that I was willing to do, and the more I did, the more I became willing to do, and the more I became willing to do, the more I did. And so when I walked out of the penitentiary on June 4th, 1961, which was 49 years ago yesterday, I knew an awful lot about Alcoholics Anonymous. Oh, a lot. I knew about the program of recovery. But I wasn't versed on anything like a fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous. I knew nothing about common courtesy. I knew nothing about selflessness. I knew all about this, but I had an idea that this was my shot. Now, I didn't believe that I deserved to take up anybody's time as a sponsor. I didn't believe that. I didn't believe I was worthy enough to even come and sit in your meetings. I thought maybe you'd have me down by the pool somewhere, showing off my tattoos. Isn't that awful? Plastic and ink. It's a big thing at the powwow, isn't it? But there I sat, and I didn't know what was going on, and so I ran into this man called Norm Alpe one time in the penitentiary. Two people who stuck out in my mind very specifically when I was in that penitentiary was a man who became my father, a guy by the name of Chuck Chamberlain, and Norm Alpe. And I remember the first time I saw Chuck, a little lady by the name of Myrtle Snyder was dragging him up to me and said, "This is our Johnnie." And he's standing, he put his arm around me and kissed me on the cheek. I damn near hit him. You don't play that stuff with me, pal. You know what I mean? I'm somebody here. But I didn't know at that time that the man would probably set the standard by which I try to live my life up until this very day. Paul, don't get me wrong, I've fallen far short of it time and time again. But it's the standard that always brings me back to scratch. But I ran into this man called Norm Alpe, and I ran into him in the penitentiary too, and he became the person who introduced me to the Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous. the actions you take as a recovering member of Alcoholics Anonymous in a fellowship called Alcoholics Anonymous. And he also taught me something that my wife reminded me that I should tell you, that she told me. He became the first emotional relationship that I ever had with another human being. The first one. And my home group basically is my address in Alcoholics Anonymous. It's not necessarily the best group of Alcoholics Anonymous in the world, but it's not necessarily the worst home group in the world either. It depends on my vision that particular Monday night. And we have some of the best members of AA some Mondays, and some of the most self-centered so-and-sos other Mondays that you've ever seen in your life. They don't pay me the proper respect that I require at times, particularly when I'm tired. But Norm, as I look back on it, handled me in the only way anybody could possibly ever handle a selfish, self-centered, self-serving know-it-all like I was. See, you can become so smart and so elitist in your head by the book Alcoholics Anonymous and the program of recovery in it and the knowledge, because it's not a thing of intellectual grasp here. There's the tools for recovery, the tools that will allow me to stand in a fellowship. And a sponsorship is the tool that will allow me to integrate myself into the fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous. And a home group to me is the address where I can tell somebody says, "Where are you?" I said, "Monday night Bellflower." "Whoa, is that it?" And I said, "No, Wednesday night Pacific Group." "Is that it?" "No." "Thursday night Under the Bridge." "Is that it?" And I said, "No, I'm liable to be anywhere Friday," which is really true. But it's this thing that you do, and it doesn't necessarily make you a wonderful thing. But my sponsor said to me, the first thing he said to me was, and I never forget it, when he said, because I didn't know what it was. You know, I read in there that Bill's sponsor took him through the steps in the hospital before he had his spiritual awakening. You know, I understand that. Something happened to me when I took my fifth step. I don't, boom, you know what I mean? It's just, I saw things differently. My papa later on told me it's like looking through a new pair of glasses, but it was like seeing the world in a different sense. And I didn't know all that kind of stuff, but Norm said to me, "I'm going to be your sponsor, and I'm going to help you get it done." And I didn't know what he wanted me to get done. And I'd already got it done. You know, I've already worked the steps. You know, that's wonderful. I wasn't drinking, you know. That seems to be a real good statement. I'm not drinking, you know. Hold on. And I said, "What do you want me to do?" And he said, "I don't even know why you asked me." And I said, "For Christ's sakes, Norm, you just told me you're going to be my sponsor." He said, "Johnny, if I can't run my life, what makes you think I can run yours?" And I said, "Well, what am I supposed to do?" And he says, "Why don't you just do what I do?" And not knowing what he did, I said to him, "What do you do, Norm?" He said, "Well, if you do what I do, then you'll know what I do." And so the great mystery of sponsorship has just been given to you. Monkey see, monkey do. But a lot of people run around Alcoholics Anonymous today wearing monkey suits that ain't monkeys. Oh, they tell you all kinds of stuff. Oh, you don't have to do that. Oh, it's necessary for you to have a commitment. Just don't drink if your ass falls off. I'm alcoholic. I'm going to be drunk a long time before the pain gets that severe. And we're not talking about physical pain, and we're not talking about all this other kind of stuff. We're talking about emotional pain. We're talking about a spiritual void in my life, which will create the necessity for me to have to drink. And I find the only perfect spiritual solution to anything of this illness that I have is the fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous and the principles that I try to accumulate in my life one day at a time, no matter how feeble I do it or how small I do it, is that sometimes when I go home at night, I just haven't drank that day. And sometimes I think in Alcoholics Anonymous we downplay the idea of physical sobriety. I think sometimes guys like me who've tried to incorporate the steps in their life and become busy in Alcoholics Anonymous and involved in a home group and a strong sponsorship line and all these things, sometimes I try to incorporate that as some kind of an idea that it's some other idea than just being physical sober. It has everything to do with it. You know, every day of my life, I start off my life with being in touch with my physical sobriety because it is about my physical sobriety. If I don't stay sober, home groups, steps, sponsorship, job, wife, children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren, none of that stuff will be in existence with a guy like me. Because the only thing that's ever stopped me from drinking is a pair of handcuffs or straitjackets. And I know that as well as I'm standing here. And so I take sponsorship and home group very deadly serious, very serious. And it's an amazing thing to me that 27 years ago when Norm dropped dead, and we were down here, we were at the Riviera, I have never been in such a state of shock in my life that I can remember. My papa was sick. But that's okay, because I was given a chance to take care of him a little bit. But losing Norm was like somebody cut something out of me. It just took away something. And I had this idea in the back of my head, I'm never going to get nobody that good. Because he was the best member of AA I've ever known, right up to this very moment. And my idea about that, I've had the best. I'm not settled for anything else. And so I wandered around for a period of time, telling myself that, I'm 22 years sober, I'm sponsoring a lot of guys, I've started some meetings, I'm travel around a little bit, and I'm getting to do this, and I'm kind of popular with this, and I'm kind of popular with that. And I got myself into one of them type of positions where I was very deadly. It's probably been as close as I've ever been to leaving Alcoholics Anonymous. And I was involved in a thing that I didn't know how to get out of it. It wasn't an affair. I was involved in a function of Alcoholics Anonymous that I didn't know how to get out of because I couldn't lend my support to what was going on to the thing. And I didn't know how to get out of it because if I said and supported something I didn't believe in, I was given its silent approval. And so what I did, I sat down and wrote a letter of resignation. Whatever you do, I resigned from this thing in a letter of recommendation, and I didn't know whether I'd done the right thing or not. I don't know whether, if you don't have a sponsor, you're lit to your own head, you really don't know whether you're doing it right or wrong anyhow. And so I didn't know anybody, and been friends and I've known Clancy for a long time, so I called him up and I said to him, I want to come down and talk to you about something. I need to ask your opinion on something. Last thing in my mind was to ask Clancy to be my sponsor, because I didn't want to pick up any dog poo in the backyard, and I'm too old to play softball, So he said, okay, so I went down there and I laid this situation out that I had just resigned from. And he looked at me because I didn't know whether it was principles before personalities or personalities before principles or what it was. And so I laid this whole scenario out to him, and he said, why don't you write a letter and resign? Oh, he's talking to the great one. I've already done that, I said to myself, so what do I need him for? What do I need a sponsor for? And I turned to walk out of it. I thanked him very kindly, and I shook his hand, and I said, thank you very much. I'll see you around. See you on the road somewhere, Clancy. Thanks for you. And I got to the door of that little dingy office that he had down there, an admission, and I tell you, I had a cold chill go down my back. It's almost like, I don't know whether you've ever been close to death or not, but I have, a number of times. And I had that feeling that I was walking close to death. That's the best way I can describe it to you. And I turned around and looked at him and I said, Clancy, I need a sponsor. He reared back in his chair and put his glasses on his nose, and I thought he was going to say, "What an order, I can't go through with it." And he looked at me and he said, "Let's give it a whirl." And I said, "What do you want me to do?" See, what is the secret to a sponsor? When you talk to a sponsor, what do you want me to do? And you better, damn well better be ready for the answer. And you damn well better be ready to take the actions that are coming out of there. Because something happens at that moment in my life that happened that day staying in the old East Bay group in Long Beach when Norm Alpe told me he's going to be my sponsor. There developed an area of trust that I place my life in this man's hands. And I trust my very life to his judgment because I wasn't sure I could trust my own. And he said, "Okay, why don't you come to the Wednesday night meeting and call me every day?" I said, "Okay." That's been 27 years. I still call him every day, and I still go to the Wednesday night meeting. Somebody said to me, "Why you do that?" And I said, "He hasn't told me not to yet." I know that's oversimplification, I know, but it's really a matter of life and death with me. This is not a matter of drinking or not drinking. It's not a matter of living comfortably or living uncomfortably. It's not a way to elevate myself in society or whatever else to do. This is a matter every day when I get up. I'm betting my life that my sponsor's right. That when I get into a jackpot, I don't get into a lot of jackpots, but I get into enough of them on my own. I trust that when I go see this man, that he's going to tell me the actions to take which will relieve the problem as I see it. And basically the problem, as I've always seen it, is me and my thought process. And what's wrong with this situation? What am I not getting out of this situation? What have I got, blah, blah. It goes on and on and on and on and on. And my sponsor has a way of just clearing it up. A few years ago, quite a while ago, my little mother, who drank herself to death, got drunk on her way to the liquor store one morning and fell down, and they put her into the hospital, and I got a call from the doctor. And the doctor said, "We need to see you." Of course, by that time, everybody had disappeared. When there's ever a phone call for financial aid, everybody else is gone. And so he called me, and so I went over to see what he wanted, and he said, "Your mother has gangrene, and her legs are poisoned from the waist down, and we're going to have to amputate her legs." My mother was 87 years old. I don't know how to handle that very well. And I said to him, "Could I have a couple days?" And he said, "Well, yeah, it's Friday. Let us know Monday." So I called Clancy. He said, "I don't know." He said, "Do what you have to do." He said, "I'm in your corner one way or the other." And so I pondered over it over the weekend, and I came to the conclusion that he said, "But you got to remember this. You can't just let her lay there and rot." So I said, "Okay." I came to the conclusion over the weekend that I was going to have her legs amputated. And so I'm on the way to see the surgeon Monday morning, and I still not sure about my decision. And so I called my sponsor. Clancy, he said, "What do you want?" I said, "I made a decision. I'm on the way to see the surgeon." He said, "What's your decision?" I said, "I'm going to have the amputations." He said, "Yeah, you can't let her lay there and rot." He said, "But you can look at it another way if you want to." And I said, "Well, how's that?" He said, "You don't have to worry about her getting drunk and falling down anymore." That took it. I don't know what it would have done for you. Like, "Oh, you son of a bitch!" What it did, it took the burden off of me. You understand? It made it not a life and death struggle with me. And I was going through a life and death struggle with my mother because she never forgave me for acts that I committed in 1951. She never forgave me. And I want to, and it just kind of lightened it up there a little bit. And my latest episode with my sponsor was 12 years ago. I ran into Karen in Columbus, Ohio, and she pursued me. Kind of a pursuer. And so we had a date. We made a date for, 3 or 4 months later on, after the telephones got too expensive. And so I don't know what to do. It's Wednesday night. We're meeting in St. Louis on Thursday. And so I said to Clancy, I need to talk to you. Wednesday night. We sit down. And he said, sure, son, what do you want? I said, now I want you to understand this. I haven't been with a girl for a couple of years. And I kind of like this one, and I don't want to screw it up, but I will. And I really don't know what to do. He said, well, why don't you just explain to her that, you've been celibate for a couple of years, and you're not really interested in anything but AA, and you kind of like her, and you kind of like to pursue this thing. And he gave me one of them sponsor baby talk, which everything's going to be all right. And I'm feeling kind of good. He said, when you get through all that, ask her if she puts out. I didn't ask her. We've been married 12 years now, and, when we're both not crazy at the same time, we get along all right. But that's what I'm talking about. Somebody in my life who I will take my deepest problems to, the problems that I trust implicitly with this one individual in the world. The rest of them, you can talk about taking yours to God and doing all that crap you want to talk about. But when I'm in that kind of a dilemma, I need somebody to take the air out of it. I need somebody to tell me simply, take this action, you'll be all right. And to make it so it's not life-threatening to me. To relieve the load you have to have. You got to have that. That's what sponsors are about. Sponsors are not about a lot of things that a lot of people who don't have sponsors think sponsors are. My sponsor, my sponsor. Some people got sponsors they only see on birthdays. They don't talk to them till they get a problem. I talk to my sponsor every day. Every day, except when he's in Germany. He spent a lot of time in Germany lately. I'm going to talk to him about that. He never knows when he's going to need me, for Christ's sake. But that's what I'm saying. It's somebody that you can communicate with. And if you communicate, I can communicate with my sponsor much better than I can with my own wife most of the time. And it's not that I don't love my wife, and it's not that I love my sponsor more than that. It's just that my sponsor is my sponsor, is my sponsor, is my sponsor, is my sponsor. My wife and I are emotionally involved with one another. My sponsor just sits over here somewhere and waits for this jackass to come floating through there with some earth-shattering dilemma. And he just gives you some little joke, You walk away and you've had your ass kicked, but you don't know what it was about, for God's sake. Staggering down. And then we come to this often misunderstood, often misquoted, often misused version of a home group. What is a home group? My wife tells me it's my address in AA. I can tell you where I'm at, and you will know where I'm at. I've sat in the same seat, in the same meeting on a Monday night for almost 38 years. I've never seen a Monday night football game.
Sorry to interrupt your viewing. Taper Dave here. Just wanted to take a second to ask you to like and subscribe to my channel. Let me know if you like what you're listening. I've got some very good talks here, and this one's a great one. Just curious, do you think this is better than Zoom? Tell me what you think.
I don't like professional football anyhow, so what the hell difference does that make? But that's where I am. And the people that I sponsor know where I'm at. So that if they're burdened and heavy laden, they know where I'm at. And like my sponsor and me, the relationship with my sponsor and I is if I tell my sponsor, I need to talk to you, can I have 5 minutes? We'll meet in the parking lot of the Wednesday night meeting and send everybody else in, and we'll talk about whatever it is that I want to talk about. And he may spill his coffee on himself or on me or anything, you know what I mean? But we will get, I'll have some type of air let out of my balloon. I'll have it, you know, it ain't all that bad. And so I owe that obligation or that dedication to the people I sponsor. I just do. I mean, it was done for me. Why wouldn't I want to do it? So where are we going to do that? Say to me, I need to talk to you, sponsor. Fine. You want to ride to me? You want to talk? I need to, oh, come on. Monday night, a lot of times we go back there in the petition, stand out there in the coffee pot talking to these guys. Now, that don't make me wonderful. That doesn't make me a better sponsor than anybody else. Doesn't make me a better member of my home group than anybody else. Doesn't make me a better husband, a better father, a better grandfather, but it doesn't make me a better anything. It's just being available like my sponsor's available. And my sponsor before the sponsor was available to me. I've always had somebody available. And I'm the type of guy who needs availability because you don't ever know what I'm going to get me into. At any given moment, I'm liable to get me into anything because I'm selfish and I'm self-centered. And I can get caught up into this magnetic idea that I've been sober a long time. My home group, I'll tell you another, my home group is the best group in the world. How in the hell would you know? You ain't been to all the groups in the world. People are staying sober everywhere. Everywhere in the world I've been, people are staying sober. Now, maybe they don't look like they're doing it the way I'm doing it or the way I was taught to do it, but they are staying sober. And they are trying to help newcomers. That's what it's all about. But I have to have a place to operate in. I got to have a reference point. I got to have somebody, when I don't know the answer, say, come on, I'm going to take it to somebody that's got it. My sponsor, if he can't answer it, we're both screwed. And that's what it's got to be. Now, it may seem like, like a little child dependent. Sure, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with letting my ego down and realizing that I need help? That I don't know how to operate very well as a husband. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with saying I really don't know how to be a good father, a good grandfather, a good great? What's wrong with that? I have to say, oh yeah, I'm a great father. I'm not. I'm a father, but I'm not a great father. My youngest daughter loves me. My oldest daughter she's just dad. If we need something, I'll call him. My grandchildren, I'm grandpa. To my great-grandchildren, I'm a pocketbook. But I'm not the greatest. And I don't claim to be. You know who I am? Just a member of Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm a guy who's trying to stay sober a day at a time till the day I die. So I want to be available and useful to Alcoholics Anonymous and to the people I sponsor the way Norm Alpe, Chuck Chamberlain, Clancy Emerson are to me. I want to be available. Now, how am I going to be? I got to know where I'm at. See, I love the people I sponsor. You know how I can denote the love that I have for the people I sponsor? I have them do what I do and what I have always done. I have never got to the point that I hear nowadays in Alcoholics Anonymous sometimes of what I used to do is all this, I got all this so much out of this and all this so much out of that, but I don't do that anymore. What? And the people you sponsor don't have to do it either? No? Then you're either a liar or you don't give a damn about these people. Well, how can you say that? I said, very simple. You and I am the only example of recovery I know about in Alcoholics Anonymous. Now, I know there's a lot of people here, and you're all sober, I hope, but I don't know the actions that you've taken to stay sober over the vast periods of time, and some people have been sober a long time. I don't know, deep down in here, the actions that you've taken and continue to take that will keep you sober and come type reasonably peaceful so you don't have to drink. I don't know. I know that I do what Norm Alpe told me to do 48 years ago today. I go to meetings, I sponsor people, I try to take them to the steps, and I try to be a good example. I try to be available to them. That's what I do. And I can say without a shadow of a doubt, I love the people I sponsor. I love them. And you know why? Because I want them to have what I found here. I want them. And the only way I know how they can get it is to do what I did to get it. I don't know any hypothetical way. I haven't read any books about it. I haven't changed any higher thing in the world. I only know what I have done up to this point that brings my life to what it is full circle, that I'm not a tongue-chewing, babbling idiot crawling around in a cell in solitary confinement in maximum security penitentiary. And I know the process that got me out of that hellhole and stood me smack dab in the middle of life. It happened to me. I know what it's like to sleep all night. I know what it's like to be peaceful. I know what it's like to have a God of my very own. I know what it's like to be able to love people unequivocally. I know all those things. I have learned them here. Now, if I profess to love you, I want you to have that. I want it more than anything if I sponsor you. I want you to have what I found here in Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm not going to try to improve on it or melt it down a little bit or give you an easier, softer way to do it. You do it. But I'm only got one thing is that I'm supposed to, and so I'm supposed to do. I do the same thing in my home group. How do I behave in my home group? I don't like all the people in my home group. No. Some of them are just jackasses. But do I sit around with a scowl on my face talking bad about them? No. I just go, keep moving. Best way in the world is to avoid being hit is to be a moving target. Hard to hit when you're moving. So I sit in my seat. I sit in my seat Wednesday night alongside Clancy. And sometimes I think Clancy's thinking I'm praying sometimes on Wednesday nights. Because when I hit him with my elbow and wake him up, I say to him, Jesus Christ, where did this speaker come from? He just looked at me and says, go back to sleep. But you don't have to like everything there. You just don't. You don't have to love everything about Alcoholics Anonymous. You don't have to love everybody here. You know, that little statement people make, I had to learn to love me before I could love you. I don't even like me. I didn't like me this morning at breakfast. I didn't like me when I walked in here today. I'm not too damned happy with me right now, if you want to know the truth. Because I caused the woman I love some pain this morning by being a jackass. And I'm just sorry about that. You know, could have been worse, I guess. I could have thrown her off the balcony. So what did I do? I went out and had breakfast with somebody I sponsored. And he told me his problems. I told him my problems. And we ate bacon and eggs. Deep stuff, isn't it, baby? Huh? It's that deep. It almost makes the psychiatrist in the room go crazy. I mean, it's so simple. I hear people tell me all over the world, AA can't be. Yes, it is. In this very room, in my home group on Monday night, in my meeting on Wednesday night, in my Thursday night meeting, no matter where I be, if it's in Texas or Oklahoma or Australia or Norway, wherever I may be, it's the same thing. Some people here are staying sober by not drinking and trying to help other people. They're staying sober by trying to pass on to them what was so freely given to them. And somehow or other, because of the actions they were given to take, something has happened to them. And then there are people in Alcoholics Anonymous who don't do a damn thing, and that's what you see in the Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous. And my idea is, if I want to live from this deadly illness that I have, if I don't want this illness to overpower me and take me back into hell, which I escaped from, if I don't want that, then I have to grab a hold of these people who are doing the drill here. Not the ones who used to do the drill and now are just on some type of a maintenance program. Oh, you can recognize them. They'll tell you. 10, 11, and 12 are the maintenance steps. You show me in our book where it says we maintain anything here. I'll tell you what our book says. Our book says we grow along spiritual lines. It doesn't say we sit still. It's like pedaling a bicycle uphill. If you ain't pedaling, you're going backwards. You know, somehow my papa used to say we take 2 steps up and 1 step back, 1 step up and 2 steps back. But somehow or other that keeps us on some type of a level plane up and down, bouncing around, because we're just basic human beings. That's all. Nobody's trying to be any Superman in Alcoholics Anonymous or Superwoman in Alcoholics Anonymous, and it's not a matter of how many people you sponsor or how many meetings you go to or how many places you talk at or whatever, you know, it just got nothing to do with it. What I've come to in the last couple of years, and I was talking with Steve about it this morning at breakfast, it seemed like to me that I was given the gift of sobriety a long, long time ago for one particular reason only. Oh, not to be married and have a home and a car and a job and children and grandchildren. They're all nice. Don't get me wrong. I'm not knocking any of that stuff. I think they're all wonderful. I think they're all part of the fringe benefits of being sober. My gift was given to me for one particular reason: to carry the message to the alcoholic who still suffers. I can't figure any other reason. I can't figure any other reason that God snatched me out of that hellhole I was in and stood me smack dab in the middle of a meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous on the 4th day of November 1959, because if I'd have known where it was, I wouldn't have come. And I battled the idea whether I was alcoholic or not for a long time until I read and took the action that says to do that told me what was wrong with me, this illness that I have. The book, Bill Wilson describes it as a spiritual illness. It's not a disease. My book doesn't mention disease as my nature. I don't have a disease. The disease, a lot of people get disease here so they can take medication to solve it. But I don't judge about that either. I just thought I'd pass that on to you this morning while we're resting. I have an illness, a spiritual illness. Why do you think that the 12 step says that having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics? Is I'm supposed to talk to you about how all the things I've accomplished since I've been sober? All the places I've been since I've been sober? No. My message is that something's happened to me, which is arrest a spiritual malady that I have, this illness of a spiritual nature. My book is full of it. My book does not refer to this as a disease. It refers time and time and time again of a spiritual illness. It's not a disease. It's a spiritual illness. I need a spiritual answer. And what is a spiritual answer? To try to live long enough outside of myself to be helpful to another person. That's all. That's why I was given the gift. The gift of sobriety was given to me to carry the message of the alcoholic. And I haven't been able to limit where it goes or pick and choose where it is that I go. I find out sometimes that there's more Alcoholics Anonymous in the little dingy Alano clubs in Newport, Kentucky. There is in Laguna Beach sometimes on Wednesday night. More pure AA. But sometimes there's more pure AA in Laguna Beach on Wednesday night. There's that dingy little club in Newport, Kentucky, too. But who am I to judge? Who am I to walk in with my arrogance and my pride and tell you, ha, 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 you people really don't know how to do it? A few years ago, I was traveling out and I ended up in a little town in Yuma, Arizona. Oh, this has been, I don't know, 40 years ago, I guess. I was sales manager for a large corporation. I ended up over in this little town in Yuma, Arizona, and I was there a day early at my appointments. And I got there late in the evening, and I thought, well, you know, I'll look up a local meeting, and I'll go sit in the local meeting. And so I had somebody that was sitting at a little local meeting, a bunch of little guys sitting around a little table, and they're talking, you know, and I said, Johnnie, I'm from California, and this guy said, you want to share? And I said, no, you know, I'd just like to sit here if it's all right with you, you know, mind, if you really, I will, you know. And I told him, you know, I'm over here working, and I'm sober a while, and I go to meetings here and go to meetings there, and I give them a little 2 or 3 minute talk that you're allowed to give in those type of meetings. They went all around the table, and they got ready to leave. The leader stood up, and he said, well, that's the end of the meeting, but before we go, I'd like to give the kid from California a standing ovation. He says, the only person from California who ever came through who didn't tell us we were doing it wrong. You see how arrogance can carry with you no matter where you go? Pridefulness. Isn't it amazing that there's a book written a long time ago that says pride goeth before the fall? Isn't it necessary that our book says that selfishness and self-centeredness are the root of my problems? If I don't get rid of it, it's going to kill me. You got to get rid of it. It doesn't say if I don't get rid of alcohol. It says if I don't get rid of this selfishness and self-centeredness, it's an all-time job. In my book, Alcoholics Anonymous, in 10, 11, and 12, in the back of our book, pages 85, 86, 87, it says that every day is a day. Every day when I got to be aware of this selfishness and this self-centeredness and self-centeredness. Every day. Why in the world would I have to grow along spiritual lines? Why? Because I cannot do this on my own. I can't. The greatest blessing I get today is to watch people take birthday cakes. I love to watch people take birthday cakes. I love to see them dress up in the best they have and let you know that Alcoholics Anonymous, something has happened to them. Whether it's 1 year, 5 years, 20 years, 50 years, whatever, they look like something has happened to them. And they stand there and declare that something has happened to them. And basically, the meetings I go to, basically they say it's because of my sponsor and my home group and the actions I've taken. What more testimony do you want? If you're a yo-yo in and out of Alcoholics Anonymous, why don't you try it? If you're having problems with Alcoholics Anonymous this morning, why don't you try that? Why don't you just get into Alcoholics Anonymous and stay there? I hear people say to me, I've been in and out of Alcoholics Anonymous for 20 years. I said, no, you haven't. You may have been around Alcoholics Anonymous for 20 years, but you ain't never been in it. I get some awful looks when I say that. And I look at them and I say, you ever been in what I'm in? You never want to get out of it, baby. It's like being on a submarine. It's getting ready to submerge. You want to be in it or on it. That simple. Every single day is the day when I'm left with that decision. Every day. Another thing I do, and one thing that I've learned here in Alcoholics Now, I don't have a choice in whether I drink or not. I hear that a lot. I got up this morning and I chose not to drink. The book says I don't have a choice. If I had a choice, I would be drunk right now. If I had the choice of whether to drink or not drink. Another thing I don't like, and alcohol just quit working. If it did, why are you even in an AA meeting? If alcohol don't work anymore, you don't need to come here anymore. You don't talk to as many people who've had slips as I do. Sometimes after long periods of sobriety, I talk to people who've been out drinking. If alcohol didn't work, why would they go back to drinking? Back here in the back of the alcoholic's mind, I don't know who's alcoholic and who's a heavy drinker, but there's a vast difference between the two. Back in the back of my mind, it's alcoholic mind that I have. When this spiritual restlessness overtakes me, and my greed and my selfishness and my self-centeredness consumes me, and I have no other answer because I've isolated myself from my home group and my sponsor, I know what makes the big hurt go away. And I will drink again. Given those type of conditions, no matter how many people I sponsor, no matter how many meetings I go to, no matter who my sponsor is, no matter how much I love my wife or my children, no matter how much I love the people that I sponsor, I will drink again. So is it any wonder that I want to go to meetings? Why wouldn't I want to go to meetings? Why wouldn't I want to go sit down in my home group and be a good example that my home group works? Why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I want to go talk to my sponsor and kiss him on his old bald head and say, I love you, sponsor? Why wouldn't I want to do that? My papa kissed me every time he saw me for 25 years before he died. Every day. Why wouldn't I want to be around these people? It's my lifeblood. There's no miracle that I'm standing here. I'm not a miracle. I tried to tell that to Norm one time. He said, you're not a miracle, jackass. AA is a miracle. You're just a small part of it. Now, I don't know what it's done for all the miracles in the desert. I know they float around out here a lot, I can tell you that. But I can tell you what it's done for me. Kept me small enough to stay here. You can't possibly imagine what an egotist like I would do if I thought I was a miracle. We'd be having water walking lessons in about 15 minutes after this meeting at the pool. I have that type of an ego. I know that. Don't ever let anybody tell you, my ego has just been smashed. It's the most recuperative thing in your body, for Christ's sakes. I can be totally humiliated. 2 minutes later, it ain't my fault. Such is the nature of the alcoholic. It's not the nature of the heavy drinker. It's not the nature of the social drinker. It's the nature of the alcoholic. Consumed with the selfishness and self-centeredness, I'm a dead man. I know it. Everybody who knows it knows it. My sponsor knows it. Norm knew it. My Papa Chuck knew it. That's why they took the time to put me on their laps and talk to me about these things that are important to me, and to continue to set the example that I need to follow, because I got to see somebody doing it. I can listen to the greatest oratories in the world, but I have to see it being functioned in front of me. I've got to see it. So I have to be around where it is. I have to be around where the active people are. I have to be around where Alcoholics Anonymous have spoken freely. I have to be around where the love of this fellowship eliminates from the people who have it. I have to be around these people who have discovered some power greater than themselves. Even though at that moment I'm incapable of touching it and feeling it for my own, I have to be around it, so I go to meetings. I stay in touch with my sponsor, and I carry this message to the alcoholic who still suffers. There isn't anything more in my life that I can think of. And I'm getting a little old in my tooth, and 3 or 4 weeks ago I thought I was going to go visit Papa, and it wasn't a bad feeling, if you want to know the truth. But somehow or other I didn't, and I'm here. And he's here with me today, and so is my sponsor, Norm. And you're all here, and the people I love are sitting in this room. And it's an amazing thing that a selfish, self-centered, self-serving guy like me can possibly ever say that to anybody. I love you. I wish you all well. I hope I can always remain some type of a good example that Alcoholics Anonymous work. A person that I love more than anything in the world, and my baby Norm knew her, a lady by the name of Myrtle Snyder, who used to come to the penitentiary when I was there, and she's like a grandmother to me. And I went to see her one day. She was dying. She'd had a heart attack. She was in an old hospital out there in San Bernardino someplace, and I had an old rattletrap car, and I didn't know what it would make, and I'm driving out there after work, and her son's telling me she ain't going to make it, John. If you want to see her, you better come see her. So I got in my car, and I drove out there, and I'm crying all the way because I don't know how you feel, but the people who give this thing to me so freely are here in my heart. They'll always be there. And I got there, she's laying in this bed, and she's got these tubes hanging out of her, and she's closed, and she's in this coma, and I got up on the side of the bed, and I'm crying, and I'm saying to her, Mom, I love you, don't go. And her eyes opened. And I said, Mom, what can I do? You gave me so much. You made it so much for me. I'm so grateful. And she smiled, and she said, Sweetheart, there's only one way in the world you can ever express your gratitude in Alcoholics Anonymous. And that's to remain a good example of what this program can do for you. That's gratitude. I have been lifted out of the gates of hell and stood smack dab in the middle of heaven. I've been given a purpose and a direction for life. I've been given the ability to love and to be loved. I've been given the ability to unzip my zippers and let everybody see inside of me. I've been shown myself to be a human being. And I've walked up high and I've come to your meetings. And I love you for it. I'll love you till the day I die. And like that old lady says, I hope and pray to God that as long as I live, I can always be some type of a halfway decent example of what this program, Alcoholics Anonymous, and you people can do. Thank you very much.
We hope you've enjoyed this recording. Call Encore Audio Archives at 1-800-878-1308 or visit our website at www.12steptapes.com.
I think we got a great talk going on here. Thanks for watching the channel. Taper Dave here. Just curious, do you think this is better than Zoom? Okay, this is how I prepare my drone for launching. I like to do it inside the cab of my truck so I'm not standing outside in the weather. To install the joysticks for control, up and down, right and left, powered on. I have an Android phone that I use to connect it to the drone with. And it's actually controlled through the iPhone, through an app. Oops, wrong way. It's actually controlled through the iPhone, or through this Android phone, through the app. It's actually controlled through the Android phone, through an app, and you connect it through this short connection right here.
Remote control connected.
Remote control's connected. So Pull out the drone. I have to extend the legs. Long legs extended first, then the short legs. Remove the gimbal protector. Set that aside, then power it on one short burst, then one long burst. I lay it down. So I have to go to calibrate. So the drone's not connected yet. It shows you here as this drone gets disconnected, even though the remote's powered on. So the drone has to establish it's connected. So I go into the app to calibration mode. First I'll calibrate the remote controller. Start calibration. Out, in, out, in, up, down, and then this little wheel is to control the gimbal. So it's calibrated. Go to gimbal calibration, start calibration, and then it calibrates the gimbal. I don't know if that shows up. The gimbal's moving all over the place. Changes, you can see it on the video. And I'm calibrated to take off. It's acquired 7 satellites at the moment. There are 26 satellites up in the sky, which it has to acquire before you can take off. So it's connected. It's got enough satellites. This is white. I can go to press this little arrow button, swipe right to take off, and it would start the motors if I slid this to the right. But I'll wait till I get outside. Don't want to do it inside.